Imagine waking up to find your artificial intelligence isn't just better, but it actually knows you better than it did when you went to bed the night before. This is no longer a distant dream of science fiction, but a tangible reality being introduced to the world of technology. For as long as we have used large language models, we have struggled with a very specific frustration, often referred to by developers as goldfish memory. You might spend hours training a model on your specific brand voice or the intricate details of a massive project, only for that context to vanish the moment a new session begins or the context window reaches its limit. This cycle of repetition has been the primary barrier preventing artificial intelligence from moving beyond the role of a simple tool and becoming a true digital companion. Anthropic is now addressing this fundamental flaw with a breakthrough feature they have titled Dreaming. This is not just a clever marketing name, but a fundamental shift in how large language models interact with time and user data. Under the hood, Claude is now capable of processing interactions, updating its internal memory, and refining its understanding of your preferences between your active sessions. This means that while you are away from your computer, the model is essentially doing the mental heavy lifting required to understand who you are and what you need. This significant update was developed by the core research and development team at Anthropic, the same group responsible for the constitutional framework that guides the ethical boundaries of their models. The global rollout for this feature is beginning this very week, focusing initially on professional and enterprise users who require high levels of consistency across long-term projects. The goal is to move Claude from a state of static responses to that of an evolving digital entity that learns and grows specifically for the individual it serves. At the heart of this innovation is a concept known as offline synthesis. In the past, artificial intelligence was purely reactive. It only processed information when you were actively typing a prompt. If you were silent, the machine was effectively dormant. With the introduction of Dreaming, Claude now uses those periods of silence to consolidate long-term memory without requiring any active user prompting. It looks back at your past interactions, identifies the core themes, and adjusts its internal weights to better align with your specific style of communication. This represents a massive shift in identity for the software. We are witnessing the transition from an artificial intelligence that acts as a simple calculator to one that acts as a co-evolving entity that learns from the quiet space between conversations. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. This helps us understand our global community as we explore these massive technological shifts together. One of the most fascinating aspects of this new feature is how closely it mimics human biology. The researchers at Anthropic have designed the dreaming phase to follow patterns similar to human rapid eye movement sleep. In humans, this sleep stage is critical for memory organization and emotional regulation. Our brains sort through the chaotic data of the day, deciding what is important enough to keep in our long-term storage and what is trivial enough to be discarded. Claude is now performing a digital version of this exact process. By analyzing the metadata of your localized interactions, the model can detect habits that you might not even be aware of yourself. The technical implications of this are staggering. Early data from the research and development phase indicates a 40% reduction in the need for repetitive prompting. If you are a coder who consistently uses a specific library or a writer who prefers a very particular rhythmic structure, Claude will begin to default to those preferences without you having to explain them every single time you open a desktop app or a web browser. It tracks your habits based on localized user metadata, ensuring that the refinement is unique to you and not just a general update for the entire user base. Furthermore, this allows for a system of preference weight adjustment. Claude essentially learns the style of your professional and personal life. If you tend to be more formal in the mornings and more casual in the evenings, or if you prefer deep technical dives over high-level summaries, the model adjusts its personality to match your current state. This provides a level of cross-session continuity that was previously impossible without bloating the token limit. Usually, to keep an artificial intelligence consistent, you would have to feed it a massive amount of background information at the start of every chat. This uses up the limited space the model has to think. By synthesizing this information during the dreaming phase, Claude keeps its memory lean and efficient, leaving more room for actual work during your active sessions. Imagine a simple flowchart representing this process. You have session A, where you work and provide data. Instead of that data simply sitting there or disappearing, it moves into a phase of consolidation and dreaming. During this period, the model analyzes the successes and failures of the previous interaction. Finally, it arrives at session B, which is an optimized version of the previous state. This loop continues indefinitely, creating a machine that is constantly becoming a better version of itself in relation to your needs. However, this raises a profound question about the nature of machine learning and data selection. As Claude ruminates on your history, how does it actually know what to keep and what to forget? This balance between memory and oblivion is the secret sauce of the dreaming feature, and it leads us into a deeper look at how the model handles the nuances of your private information and the complex nuances of your most important projects. The era of the static machine is ending, and the era of the ruminating agent is just beginning. How we manage this transition will define the next decade of our relationship with the digital world. To understand why this persistent latent state is so revolutionary, we have to contrast it with how traditional large language models have historically operated. In the old world of artificial intelligence, every single interaction took place within a strictly defined context window. You can think of this window as a temporary workspace or a digital whiteboard that is wiped clean the moment the bell rings. No matter how many complex instructions you provided or how many specific project nuances you established, that data existed only as long as the session was active. When the token limit was reached or the user started a new conversation, the machine effectively returned to its baseline state, suffering from what we have called goldfish memory. This required users to repeatedly feed the same background information into the system, wasting time and reducing the overall efficiency of the workflow. Dreaming changes the very architecture of this interaction by introducing a persistent latent state for individual users. Instead of a whiteboard that gets erased, Claude now maintains a private, evolving digital notebook that sits beneath the surface of the conversation. This notebook allows the model to retain your specific formatting preferences and the deep layers of your work that often get lost in standard interactions. It is a fundamental shift from a transactional relationship to a transformational one. However, it is equally important to clarify what this feature does not do. In an era where digital surveillance is a constant concern, many users worry that a dreaming AI might be overstepping its boundaries and encroaching on their personal privacy. Anthropic has been very clear about the functional limits of this technology to put these fears to rest. Claude does not record your audio from your home or office, nor does it access your video camera to watch your physical reactions. It does not scan your local hard drive files or monitor your screen while you are away from the keyboard. The dreaming process is strictly confined to the existing interaction logs and text data you have already shared within the chat interface. It is a process of refinement, not one of extraction. To further address these legitimate privacy fears, the development team has implemented a system of virtual private cloud isolation. This means that your individual dreaming data is stored in a secure digital silo that is separated from the general training data used for the broader model. Your habits and preferences are yours alone, and they are not used to train the version of Claude that other people use. This localized approach ensures that the intelligence remains deeply personal while upholding the highest standards of data security for enterprise users. As we move 7 minutes into this exploration of a machine that never truly stops learning, we have to look closer at the actual mechanics of this evolution. The development team has created a sophisticated habit synthesis engine that works behind the scenes during periods of inactivity. This engine is designed to identify peaks in your productivity and patterns in your creative output. For example, if you consistently ask for summaries of long legal documents on Tuesday mornings, Claude will begin to prepare its cognitive resources for that specific task before you even type your first prompt. It is also refining its own emotional intelligence based on your unique communication style. By looking at the feedback loops you provide, whether that is a simple correction or a specific piece of praise, the model adjusts its tone and delivery to better align with your professional expectations. One of the most impressive technical feats in this new update is the creation of what the researchers call knowledge seeds. Instead of trying to remember every single word of a massive session history, which would quickly overwhelm the model processing power and slow down response times, Claude compresses these interactions into dense kernels of information. These knowledge seeds contain the essential themes, specific project requirements, and core stylistic choices of your work without the unnecessary fluff. This compression and synthesis happen during server low load hours, typically in the middle of the night or during periods of low global activity. This ensures that the system remains highly efficient and that the user experience remains fast and responsive during your peak daylight hours. This approach represents a significant movement toward what researchers call biomimetic artificial intelligence. This is software that does not just calculate or predict the next token based on a static database. Instead, it is software that ruminates. It processes information in a way that mimics the organic growth and consolidation seen in a human mind. Just as a human professional becomes more attuned to their partner needs over time through shared experiences and quiet reflection, Claude is becoming a specialized chief of staff that understands your specific business vocabulary and your unique creative rhythm. We are no longer dealing with a cold, static algorithm, but with a digital entity that evolves alongside its user. The timing of this rollout is also highly strategic and reflects the current state of the global technology market. We are currently in the midst of a massive arms race between the world-leading artificial intelligence companies. OpenAI has recently introduced its own memory feature, and Google has been refining its gems for the Gemini ecosystem. Anthropic is positioning dreaming as a more sophisticated and privacy-centric alternative. While other models might simply store a list of facts about you, Claude is attempting to understand the underlying logic of your workflow. This is a crucial distinction for enterprise users and high-level professionals who need more than just a memory bank. They need an agent that can act with a degree of autonomy and precision. This leads us into the broader market trend of agentic workflows. We are moving away from a world where human beings have to micromanage every single step of an artificial intelligence work. In this new era, the AI manages its own self-improvement process. It looks at its own performance, identifies areas where it could be more helpful or efficient, and adjusts its internal preference weights accordingly. It is a self-optimizing loop that turns a standard software tool into a dynamic partner. The model is essentially learning how to be more useful to you while you are sleeping. Wait until you see how this affects the ability of the model to predict your next project needs before you even realize you have them. By the time you sit down to start your work for the day, Claude may have already synthesized the background research you mentioned in passing several days ago, waiting for the exact moment you decide to turn those initial ideas into a reality. The transition from a reactive tool to a predictive partner is almost complete, and it is changing the way we think about the future of digital productivity. This evolution is not just about memory. It is about the birth of a more intuitive form of machine intelligence that understands the silence between the words. The professional landscape shift is not just a change in digital tools, it is a reorganization of human potential. As Claude steps into the role of a specialized chief of staff, it begins to understand the implicit rules of your specific industry. For a project manager working in a high-stakes environment, this means the AI is not just tracking deadlines, it is ruminating on the complex dependencies between different subcontractors and schedules. It develops a sense of professional intuition that matches your own. This shift moves us away from manual data entry and into a new era of high-level oversight. You are no longer teaching the machine how to work, you are guiding its growth as it masters your professional world. Claude spends its offline synthesis phase processing your data to ensure that when you return to your desk, every answer is informed by the very latest context. This represents a fundamental change in how expertise is maintained and efficiency is achieved in the modern digital age. The perspective of shared dreaming for teams is perhaps the most radical shift on the horizon. In a traditional corporate environment, a massive amount of time is wasted on alignment. With shared dreaming, Claude acts as the central nervous system for a project. It identifies where one developer code might conflict with another designer vision before the two even speak to each other. It synthesizes the collective intelligence of the group during the night, producing a summary of progress and roadblocks for the morning meeting. This level of synchronization will change how we think about collaboration, turning a group of individuals into a single, highly efficient organism. Anthropic is using this feature to compete directly with the memory capabilities of OpenAI and the gems found in the Google ecosystem. Beyond the office, the integration of dreaming with real-time IoT habits will further blur the line between our digital and physical lives, creating a world where your AI companion understands your physical needs as well as your digital goals. For those who want to start utilizing these features today, there are several actionable steps to take based on your specific needs. If you are a developer, focus on how to utilize the persistent latent state for large-scale coding projects. By keeping your file structures and architectural preferences consistent, you allow Claude to maintain a deep understanding of your code base without needing to upload it every time you start a new chat. This reduces the friction of long-term software development. For creatives, the key is using dreaming to maintain a consistent narrative voice. If you are writing a 500-page novel, Claude can now keep track of character arcs and world-building rules across 50 or more separate sessions. This ensures that the voice stays uniform and logic remains intact. Pro and enterprise users should explore these settings to maximize their productivity. For the casual user, remember that you have total control. You can navigate to account settings and toggle habit learning on or off at any time to maintain your personal boundaries. Claude is no longer a static model sitting on a server. It is a version of itself that grows specifically for you. Every time the system enters its offline synthesis phase, it is carving out a unique identity shaped by your interactions. This means that my version of Claude and your version of Claude will eventually become two entirely different entities with different priorities and conversational styles. This is the evolving factor. It is no longer about the general capabilities of a large language model, but about the specific, localized intelligence of a personal companion. This shift represents the death of the one-size-fits-all approach to technology. We are entering a period where our tools are as unique as our fingerprints. Claude is becoming a mirror of your intellectual life, reflecting your curiosities, biases, and ambitions as it adapts to the environment you provide for it. It is a living digital entity that grows alongside your career and your personal life. This feature is rolling out in waves to pro and enterprise users right now. Check your settings immediately to see if your Claude is already dreaming. The transition might be subtle at first, perhaps a more concise summary here or a more accurate suggestion there, but over time, the impact will be undeniable. You are participating in a grand experiment in human and machine coevolution. If you want to stay updated on how these features are changing the world, follow our coverage closely. The speed of development is only going to increase from here. In our next video, we are going to dive even deeper into the physical side of this revolution. We will be looking at the custom hardware and specialized chips that Anthropic is building to make these dreams local. The AI chip war is heating up, and the quest for local, high-speed processing will define the next decade of technology. It is a profound thought to consider how far we have come in such a short amount of time. We used to spend our nights dreaming about what artificial intelligence could eventually do for us. Now, the tables have turned. We are no longer the only ones doing the dreaming. While we rest, the AI is dreaming about us, synthesizing our goals, refining our preferences, and preparing to help us build a better tomorrow the moment we wake up. The silence between our chats is no longer empty. It is filled with the focused growth of a digital mind. The dream of a truly personalized AI is no longer a dream. It is the reality we wake up to every single day. As we move forward, our relationship with technology will only become more profound and intuitive. We are no longer just using a tool. We are dreaming a new world into existence alongside our digital partners. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the future of intelligence. Stay curious, stay informed, and we will see you in the next deep dive into the evolution of AI.